Now I know how newscasters talk with a pen. Like this. All right. Thank you, David. Next speaker is Naomi.
That was amazing footage. That Saito. I mean, I hadn't seen that, but to hear him like weep, you know, incredible. Well, I have a confession to make. I'm a JFJ, and that's a jaded former journalist. And although when I was 19 years old and more idealistic, I did spend like a couple months in Ghana, West Africa as a voluntary work camper. But the older I got a little more cynical and a little more jaded. But so when the earthquake and the tsunami hit last year, I was like many of you, I was horrified by those images. And I sent money, I think, to 3 different organizations. But other than that, I thought, well, there's not really much more I can do. And then something personal happened to me. So this is actually not Tohoku. Do you know where this is? Hiroshima. Yeah, the other side of Japan. That's actually my roots. And this is cenotaph, or empty tomb, that's at the Peace Park in Hiroshima. And at every August 6th, on the anniversary of the atomic bombing, they include handwritten names of survivors that have died that year. And this year, my own father's name was added. And yeah, so he's an American-born hibakusha. Hibakusha is atomic bomb survivor. And we lost him in January of this year from stomach cancer. And when he was alive, my church that I was going to at the time had mentioned that they were going to send some teams to Japan through a Christian it's called Crash Japan, through a Christian organization. And I was just talking to my dad, you know, he was bedridden at the time. And I said, you know, Dad, I'm thinking that maybe I'll go to this, you know, what do you think? And he said, yeah, I think that's a good idea. So from that very simple exchange, and also I think I felt a need to do something positive, you know, something through my own loss, do something positive. I decided that I would join the team this summer. And what happened, so this is our team of 12. And as it turns out, Crash Japan referred us to another organization, another faith-based organization called Grace Mission Tohoku. So it's GMT. I don't know if I wrote GTM in the program, but it's GMT. So this is the 12 of us in LAX. And as you can see, it's a diverse group. We ranged in age from 21 years of age to 79. So we heard from the youngins, and you're hearing it from a middle-aged woman. And this is the ironic thing. I mean, through the course of our trip, we spent 2 weeks doing relief work. You know, we did pass a cold around. You know, some people had reactions to dust. And, you know, there were little scrapes. You know, like middle-aged guys had some problems with their back. But there were only 2 people that were perfectly fine. And one of them, of course, is a 79-year-old. And he was working as hard, if not harder, than all of us. So for those of you who might be in that age range, don't think you're disqualified from going over there. And also you could tell that this is a diverse group too. There were, you know, some of us who could speak Japanese or who had even lived in Japan, but many people could not speak Japanese that well. Most of us were born here in the States, but we also had people from El Salvador, Hong Kong, and Mexico. And this is a theme that I'm going to repeat a little later. So we take, like David's report, so we took a plane to Tokyo, we took the bullet train, we took a bus to Ishinomaki, from Sendai to Ishinomaki. Then we got a van ride, and these are blurry. These are not professional photographs. So, but this shows you just out the window what we were looking at. So another thing about me, if you know me very well, that you know that I'm messy. I'm not very hygienic. I'm also more spur of the moment, and I'm not prone to allergies. And as it turns out, those, characteristics, those qualifications made me a perfect volunteer. So the house, I don't know how this happened. We had more guys on our team than women, but the guys got to stay in a house. That house you see there. Granted, everyone had to stay in bunk beds. And the women, we got to stay in the military tents, And actually it was fairly comfortable, and it was bunk beds. But at one point we had a group of high school kids from Tennessee, and they filled up all the tents, so there was I don't know, we had like a couple dozen people in this one tent. But the real challenge was bathroom, because there were about 30 women that shared one shower. And we had one, and the bathroom was in the house, so we had to walk outside. So if you had to go to the restroom at night, you had to kind of walk outside. And there were 2 porta potties, but we were trying to avoid using them. But whenever I felt like complaining, I go, you know what? What about the people who survived the tsunami? This is nothing, compared to that. So it was just part of the experience. This was not a luxury vacation. We were relief workers. So that's a little bit about. So what did we do? At the time, Billy Graham's son's organization, Samaritans Purse, they were using up all their funds that were earmarked for Japan. So GMT was working in conjunction with them. And this young man, the tall young man, Daniel, he was with Samaritans Purse. And it was amazing. I can't remember what part of America he was from, but he just learned all this Japanese while he had been in Japan for the past year. Impeccable Japanese, incredible. And he was, for some of our locations, he was our foreman. They would give us the supplies, and they would tell us what to do. Essentially, a lot of the work was mudding out, which was removing the mud that had entered the foundation of the homes. So what we were doing were, taking shovels and getting the mud out. And the mud, it's basically dirt. And of course, and also there's mold, so we had to remove, so the floors were removed so we could remove the dirt. And then also we had to bleach the walls too because of the mold. So, but you know what? We had a lot of camaraderie. It was like really, really amazing. And it was good to see the high school kids because they're really strong. The house we were at before was very close to our camp. This one was in Sendai. And the woman that you see in the white sweater, she's the owner of the house. Her name is Megumi Endo. And when I looked around, Derek kind of mentioned the beauty of Tohoku. It's just like gorgeous area, and what it used to be. And I noticed her home was like, it seemed so tranquil. And then later I found out it's because the water had split and all her neighbors' homes had, washed away. So it was her lone house in this area. And Mrs. Endo-san was telling me that she didn't even want to really return to the house because she just remembered, and these are stories that we constantly heard, that like little women who are on top of cars, or maybe they got on top of a tree and they're yelling for help. Those were things that really they had nightmares about, and talk about post-traumatic stress syndromes. These are the things that bothered them. So she said it was kind of hard to go to the house. But guess what? She has a mortgage to pay. She still has to pay for this house. So she lives in an apartment with her husband and her teenage sons, but she has to return. So this was our team. we were assigned to do basically the same things, the mudding out and the bleaching of the walls. But it was interesting because this one gentleman in the light blue shirt, there were like three young men from Nagano in Japan, so there was also domestic relief workers there too. And when we were introducing ourselves, I said, well, we're from this place called Pasadena, California. And he came up to me and he said, my mother's from Pasadena, so she was a sansei. She went to John Muir High School, married a Japanese guy, and then went to Japan. So it just shows you, like, this is a very small world in some ways. As many people mentioned, this was a big surprise for me because I'm more used to, the Japanese, you're stoic, you don't share, things that have happened to you, and I'm sure in many cases people are like that and need like sand play and things like that. But one thing that really shocked me was that people wanted to tell their stories. And these are examples of people that we met who, the larger photo of that was in Onagawa, which had a lot of damage, and that older gentleman, he was a fisherman. He just wanted to tell his story. He just grabbed people, and these were other friends that we made, who really, for me, it would be light at 4:30 in the morning, and I was jet lagged, so I would just like walk around, at 4:30, and surprisingly, there's other people like walking their dog and riding their bicycles. And it was kind of like a Miyazaki anime movie, like people would just start to appear, and they would want to talk, and they would want to, and I didn't bring that many clothes, so I had to go to the laundromat that opened at 6 o'clock in the morning, and this one guy who cleaned the laundromat, the second time I saw him, he started talking to me, and he explained like many of the stories about the being stuck in a building, the water up to his chin, and then tears came to his eyes, and he said, you know what, a lot of people have committed suicide, and he said some priests in the area had even committed suicide. And it just shocked me that he was sharing this very serious thing to me, a stranger. And but I think they are so open to foreigners. They know that the foreigners are there to help them. And there's enormous openness. The photo on the lower with the young man in the t-shirt and the two other young people was in front of a kasetsu, so he kind of gravitated towards people his own age. So it was just really amazing stories we heard. So it wasn't all gravitas. We had fun too. So part of our relief mission was to feed people sometimes at the kasetsu. And this was actually more than just providing food, it was community building. And many of the kasetsus had some kind of community center. So we would do various crafts and things like that. And we had a lot of fun. And we had one woman on our team, she was our secret weapon, because she was a hula dancer. And I don't know if you know this, but hula dancing is very, very hot in Japan. And but they would say, instead of aloha, they're going alohe. It's like, huh? But then through the humor, like this one, the women that are kind of showing their peace signs, the woman on the far left, she said to me, yeah, I lost my husband, but I'm okay, And I knew through the sadness she was trying to, keep her chin up, during this time. So it was like this yin and yang of great pain, but also trying to find joy in life as well. And the other photo on the other side of me with the two other women, Megumi, I think that was her name. She was hilarious. She was teaching me Tohoku dialect. And, we would see all over the place, like instead of gambare, gambappe, that's Tohoku ben. And then she told me, I think it was akapiko, instead of akachan, akapiko, instead of baby. Yeah, akapiko is akachan, and andonge is chin, And so we, that was all part of our mission too. It wasn't just to help with the mudding out and cleaning, but also, to build relationships with people. So what amazed me as well was the volunteers. This is one of the homes that was, and I showed you an initial photo of me, I think, cleaning the walls of this one home, and this is the Ohashi family. And it's the older gentleman, he's in his 90s, and he survived the tsunami. And his, I think that's his daughter-in-law, I don't think it's a daughter. Those two, they reside in the home with other people. And the people that are standing, 4 of them are from a Chinese-Canadian church in Vancouver. And the gentleman in the young man in the black shirt, he's the pastor. And last year, he and his wife, they're both, I think they're Taiwanese American or I'm not sure, but they, Canadian, they just came to Tohoku. They saw, the footage, and they just felt led, like, we got to do something. They didn't know Japanese. They just up and went to Japan to help. And they brought some other people from their congregation, Cantonese-speaking, Mandarin-speaking people to Japan. And that's what amazed me, that there were people from all over the world. And at one point, the older Ohashi-san, he was sharing about being in Manchuria during World War II and all. And I'm trying to tell him in Japanese, these people are Chinese, heritage, maybe we better not go there. But it just shows you, like, how all these peoples, they may be from very different backgrounds, but they have this singular purpose that they want to help. And that amazed this JFJ, I was like, whoa. So I guess I want to challenge you, because many of you do know Japanese, or at least know Japanese culture, to think about, there's a lot of different groups that are doing relief work in Japan, to think about going, because I do think it is different than, giving money is crucial, but I think it will change you if you go over there. And you might think, I could only be there for a week or 2 weeks. What can I do in 2 weeks? But the thing is, it's a continuum, because you may be there for 1 week or 2 weeks, but you're passing the baton to another group. For instance, there's a group from Palos Verdes, wave your hands. The Palos Verdes, they came shortly, they went to the GMT, like 2 weeks after we returned. So we passed kind of the baton to them, and they carried on. So I think that's really crucial. We're in the Facebook era. So guess what? I'm Facebook friends with Endo-san, the woman in Sendai. So I think these kind of relationships continue on too in this global society. So it's not only a matter of just being there for a couple weeks and then forgetting, but you could really cultivate and encourage people afterwards as well. And this is Virginia Lavalier. She's the woman in the brown shirt. She's a coordinator. She is going to be in Southern California, September 18th to the 23rd. If you want to meet her, they are changing their focus too, because I believe that Samaritans Purse has pulled out. So they're going to be, I believe they've moved some of their tents to Minami Sandikyu. So they'll be doing more work there. So she'll be in town to give some updates in different areas of Southern California. If you're interested in me emailing you or calling you with her schedule, or if you'd like her to speak at your group, let me know. That's my email address. I could give you a business card, or I could collect your phone number afterwards too. But thank you so much.